It's Daybreak on Arise News, time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. We'll start with this day. It's leading with, again, Tinubu APC governors, NWC meeting ends in stalemate. Concerns as Adamu stays away, and that's the chairman of the party. Nigeria seeks restructuring from IMF, debt restructuring rather, from IMF and the World Bank. Lawmakers flay federal government over 8.2 trillion naira recurrent expenditure in 2023 budget. And Dangote's 650,000 barrels per day refinery, 97% completed.
And from this day, we take a look at the headlines in the Punch newspaper for this morning. Corruption. World Bank sanctioned 7 Nigerian firms and individuals, and that you found on page 23 in the Punch. Insecurity may hamper elections in Northwest Southeast, says the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. And also, Ariola inaugurates as CJN seeks judiciary independence. 258 billion naira port concession project missing in 2023 budget. And court convenes frees filmmaker Egbegbe after 5 years, and that's inside the paper right there.
The Nation newspaper now. Tinubu presents manifesto to APC, National Working Committee and the governors. PDP crisis, Atiku drafts Mark Ibori Odili to beg Wike. And Obajana Kogi challenges Dangote to prove ownership. And from that, we'll take a look at the Daily Sun. APC set up campaign cancelled harmonization committee. We won't campaign now, says Adamu. And Obi appoints Oshutokun, Eneche, Dahiru, Anyanwu, Agbaso, and 1,229 others into campaign cancel. PDP adjusts campaign timetable to restart state rallies on Monday. Look at the Leadership newspaper now. It's leading with, at Icon Conference, presidential candidates fault open grazing, endorse state police. 146 special trucks arrive in Abuja as Lokoja flood recedes.
And on the foreign scene, we'll start with the I paper. Tories in open revolt against Prime Minister.
The Financial Times says Truss faces mounting Tory pressure to rewrite unfunded tax cut plans.
And in The Guardian, Truss faces new peril as Tories go on the attack over economy.
This is The Independent. Tory MPs revolt as they demand U-turn on tax.
And I think lastly, not lastly, the Daily Telegraph, coronation row looms over crown for Queen.
And The Times says, rip up your tax plans, top officials urge Liz Truss.
Now let's bring in Emmanuel for the press preview. Emmanuel, good to have you join us this morning. I think I want to start with the new CJN that was sworn in, asking for the judiciary's independence. That would be like a right call to make it at this point in time, because one of the most, people have said, one of the most interfering arm of government, your government, has been our judiciary. What you make of that?
Yeah, well, yes, Benny, the independence of the judiciary cannot be negotiated, and it's a very, just like you have the free press, the independent press, as a major, led to a foundation or base for democracy. An independent judiciary is also very, very important. So that call is timely, like you noted, especially now that we're in the election seasons and campaign seasons, and very soon some of those elections might end up in courts, and some of the cases are there now. So everyone worries about the judiciary, especially the courts, and the crisis of independence, the problem of impartiality among the judges, incorruptibility, and all of that. Those are issues that worry most commentators and anyone that is concerned about justice, because that's the last, the last sanctuary for any individual. So yes, the call and from the new CJN is very important. That yes, we begin to talk about the independence of the judiciary as a distinct arm of government from the legislative and the executive.
Emmanuel, the politics now in front of this day. The APC, the ruling All Progressives Congress, has held a tripartite meeting
the Progressive Governors, the National Working Committee, and the Presidential Campaign Council. This day is reporting that the meeting ended in a stalemate.
Well, yeah, that's that's distinct reporting by this day, the newspaper of records, as my brother and friend Emmanuel Fene calls it. So yes, and that's it's a very a robust reporting of what really transpired. I see one or two reporting from other papers trying to downplay the issue of this stalemate. The Nation, for instance, took the story from a different angle and saying that there is a presentation of manifesto. That happened, but the bigger story from what happened yesterday that transpired in a place that is very close to us here, the meeting that they had is one that clearly suggests that there's still problem within the APC, and that's clearly the issue of agreeing on the Presidential Council, and that yes, that's why I think the This Day newspaper is used the word stalemate. Then you have those boycotts too. They were there. The boycotts were very clear. Some of the people, the national chairman of the party wasn't in that event yesterday. Those are very, very problematic situations. So while you might talk about a wicked problem for the PDP, these problems too still exist even within the APC. Yesterday meeting again brought up all those situations, the issue of boycotts, the issue of some people not carrying. The vice president was in the meeting, so other people, very important people, were not in the meeting. But of course, the party explained that look, the party chairman is represented by his deputy, and that others too were invited, and that they will take off soon. Festus Keyamo likes to say that the reason why the APC can't start any campaign now is because it's a 50, how does he even put it, a 50 truck, a huge trailer that needs to hit the highway, and that it's not easy to maneuver such a trailer compared to other smaller vehicles that could just hit the road. So that's how he tries to explain it. But from all indication, it looks as if it's a sign of serious problem, because these campaigns are supposed to start. The PDP has kicked off already, and the APC is still lagging behind, while the Labour Party is also trying to set up a structure in the race.
Now, still on election, the 2023 elections, the independent bodies is raising a grave concern to every Nigerian about the possibility of insecurity hampering the election in the northwestern southeast, citing the movement, the electoral officials, movement of materials, and also even the voters themselves. This is a good concern being raised here by INEC. How do you see this playing out?
Well, yes, it's not new. I mean, this alarm has been sounded in the past. The INEC boss himself has continuously said politicians are looking at the election as war. But this is beyond that now. This is talking about the crisis of insecurity. And the means we're going to practically have these elections in the midst of all the crises that we're dealing with. So yes, it's a good alarm, and it's one that I'm sure the government will have to look at it, because you will need to have secure spaces before elections to happen. And so the boss is saying that, look, elections will be hampered around here. So it's a concern not only to party, to supporters, but to the candidates, and certainly to President Buhari, who continuously boasts that he is going to bequeath a smooth and very transparent transition. Now, this is going to be a problem he needs to deal with. It's all still part of the record that he keeps saying that, look, he will be remembered for, that he's going to be remembered for very fantastic elections. And now the umpire, the body in charge, is saying that, well, that might not just happen if you don't deal with the problem of security. I think it's a serious problem.
Speaking of problems, Emmanuel, the Punch newspaper says ASU is divided over strike suspension as it holds an EC meeting. Yesterday I was following an update online as the different branches and the universities met, but they haven't come to an agreement. Where do we go to from here?
And Kenneth, it's actually like an anticlimax, because the other day there was, I think at the start of the week, there was some kind of hope that we were getting to some kind of understanding or closure. In fact, some people even went to town with a story that ASU probably is already called off. But from what we saw yesterday, to go back to the words this day used, stalemate, looks like a stalemate on both sides of the divide. So there were those votings, Kenneth, that you were talking about around the universities. But what came out at the end of the day is that clearly the solutions that we think will happen haven't happened yet. But of course, the committee is led by the Speaker of the House of Reps is still really working and seeing to see whether there's going to be some kind of solution. But for now, it's clear that we're not out of the woods yet as far as the ASU FG crisis is concerned.
Well, it's not all doom and gloom. We have a good report in the leadership newspaper saying 146 petrol trucks arrive at Abuja as the floods in Lokoja begins to recede. Now, this is an occurrence that happens every time it rains, and we're seeing that happen again. What are some of the things that we need to consider right now, maybe by way of mitigating flood effects in Nigeria?
Well, yes, we need to be prepared all the time. We've got that whole big body called NEMA, and then, of course, you have the Waterways Agency. There are no shortages of such agencies and such, bodies around to actually do what they can. Well, you can prevent natural disasters from happening, but you can actually adequately prepare for them and think outside the box and look for better ways. You're talking about good news. That's not the only good news. Those trucks coming, those over 140 something, yeah, the trucks coming. The other big good news is the one in this day that the Dangote refinery is 97% completed. So, and that's for all the potential it has for job creation, for actually solving the crisis of the oil sector, the crisis we've been having about refining our products here back at home. The Dangote refinery is going to solve that, and now we're getting the good news that it's at 97% completion. That's good news. This carried, of course, those long queues that we saw yesterday from Monday to today. The story about those tankers coming in is also a good story, meaning that it's going to ease off and people are going to have access to fuel, at least as we head into the weekend.
Heading into the weekend. Let's take a few steps backwards into the politics. In the Sun newspaper, there was, of course, I'm sure everyone was watching yesterday, the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, is alleging a plot to remove the INEC chairman, to jettison the use of the beavers, and to stop electronic transmission of results and votes as they happen. And now the former INEC chairman, Professor Tahiru Jega, is saying anything is possible, and so we need to watch.
Yes, we need to watch, and we need to stay on it. And I think not just the body that is making this or talking about this, but everyone, especially the media, with this where we play a crucial role to fact check on that, to ask questions, to dig deeper, and of course, at this point, you can't really trust anyone. So, and the body itself, INEC, we have to actually stay on them. This is serious allegation. Nigerians just want a transparent election. Anything less. It's amazing that the APC, for instance, had actually said that, look, that's a lie from the opposition. It's amazing that the APC was defending that. Yes, well, beyond the defense, even by a party or even other concerned body, Tahiru Jega is not someone you take for granted. He was in this place before, and he said, look, anything is possible. But I think Nigerians are watching this to see that, look, for once in a long while, we have a transparent election. The president has promised that he's committed to that. He must, he's known for standing firm on some of those commitments. He must commit himself to this transparent election, and of course, the plans by INEC to have a credibly, exercise. We must stay on this story and see that the right thing is done.
Emmanuel, it's been great having you join us on the press preview. And that's the press preview. Let's share your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. You can also join today's conversation using the hashtag AriseDaybreak.